As a general rule, I don't like camping in the summer because it's too damn hot. But this year, I find myself with an opportunity to go on a trip I can't refuse in the middle of high summer down in Tennessee. So it's going to be hot. So what I decided was, it's time for a fan. And I chose this Ventline Vanair fan. I know it's small, but it's only a minivan. And a max air fan is just too much for this. And the other issue is, it had to fit under my solar panel. How it works is, when you're inside this, you push this up and that opens it up, and you have a switch to turn it off and on. But I'm going to make it variable speed with a little motor controller. So hang with me and I'll show you what I do. Alright, so anybody that follows my channel knows that I have a 24 volt system, and that fan is a 12 volt. Now, I do have a 12 volt leg coming out of this 24 volt system, but I already have a wire up in the ceiling to feed this light right over here, and it feeds power out on a USB-C up there where that ball connector is, ball head. And you know, I could run a 12 volt wire up there, but I don't want to when there's one already up there. So I chose to get a 24 to 12 DC to DC converter, and I wanted this fan to be variable speed and reversible so it can suck in or blow out. So I bought a little speed controller with a reversing switch. Okay, I got my parts off of Amazon. Here's the 12 to 24 converter. It says 5 amps. My fan only pulls an amp. And here's the speed controller. Now it's a little overkill for mine, but I chose it because it had the detached pot on it. So I cut off the reversing switch because, as it turns out, no matter which way that fan turns, it only moves air one way because of the design of the blades. This is my electric setup, and all this will mount in the ceiling. And since this equipment is going to live up in the headliner of my ceiling, I set up a test. This thing's been running for about an hour, and I want to make sure this thing didn't get hot. But I just want to make sure it ain't going to burn my van down. Next, I'm going to test the speed controller to make sure it doesn't get hot. I am feeding 28 volts, which is what my battery system normally rests at, into, it goes down there, and into the voltage converter, brings it down to 12, and then it goes into the speed controller. Let's test that out. This piece of equipment I could have just got by with a speed controller rather than a reversing switch. Now I want to try the speed controller. Okay, well that certainly works like it's supposed to. Alright, I'm going to turn it on full blast and let this thing run a while and see if it gets hot. And it shouldn't. The damn thing only pulls 15 watts full blast. We'll come back and see what it's doing after a bit. Alright, so I have decided where I want this thing to be. And it's sort of central between the light and these two vents. But I have a wire running up through there. Now, I have been in that headliner enough times to know what's up there, so I'm not worried about hitting anything right off. But what I'm going to do is drill a center hole from the top, come down in here, cut out the headliner, and that way I can move that wire around and be away from the saw blade when it's coming down from the top. And I'm going to center this out the best I can between them two ridges, as close to far back as I can to this. But when I go to run the saw around, I'm not going to be able to run it this way, so I'm going to have to go from one side in and then go from the other side in. Don't laugh, I used what I had handy. So here's my center. Let's go make a hole in Larry's roof. Now they said you gotta start small. So I'm gonna start small and go bigger. Now I'm gonna go see if that thing came through the headliner. And it did not. I have to find a piece of wire to poke through there. to find it. So there's my wire. Here's my template. I tried to make that thing go through as straight as I could. Alright. I chose this blade because it's sharp and it's narrow. It's an old hickory small boning knife. Alright, it works pretty good. Alright, here's the wire I was looking for. Look, I knew it was in there somewhere, so I'm going to have to scoot it off to the side when I stick the saw blade in. But for now, I'm going to finish cutting this out. Okay, I'm right in the middle of a bunch of struts and shit. Alright, that's going to make it harder to cut it out, but it is what it is. Okay, so I made me a switch panel. I've got most of my wiring done. These are the two connections I have to make in the ceiling, and I still have to wire the fan up. But what I'm going to do is put XT60s on the output of the motor controller and on the input of the fan, so when I got to do that part, I can just plug them in. Well, that worked out pretty good. Green is negative. I'm going to put my little piece of shrink tube on there. Let's flop her over. We'll do the positively side. Now I'm going to wire up the fan wire. I almost forgot. A little bit of fresh juicy lead-based solder on there to help with heat transfer. Alright, here we go. I'm about to cut a hole in my roof. I'm glad that part's done. I don't have a paintbrush, so this is what I'm doing. Alright, now I got a hole in my damn roof. How about that? So the next thing I have to do is make all my electrical connections, then I can install the fan. You know, I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to expose a lot of copper and then trim it off. Alright. And I'm a big proponent of keeping everything DC, so I'm running this thing off of batteries. Put a little solder on the tip. It helps with heat transfer. I would lose my fucking head if it wasn't attached. A few moments later. That's tight. Well, all three of these have to go to the switch. This is going to go. Damn, this is harder than it looks. I don't know how hard it looks, but it's hard. I gotta do it all over again because they're too fucking short. Ugh. Alright, I've got all this stuff put through here now. Now I'll make my connections to the switch. That goes there. And this little fella goes on there. I'm making sure that none of the wires are going to get hit, or none of the other equipment when I drill the screws down from the top. There it is. And now I'm ready to go up top and make it happen. Alright, so I turned some juice on this thing so I could test it before I buckle everything up. Now, alright, that works. Alright, now I gotta go up there, clean off around the edge of the hole. I'm gonna put some of this butyl tape around it. Alright, I gotta take this cap off to get to the screw hole. It worked out pretty good where it's at in there, so I'm gonna mark these screw holes. And you know what else I need to do? I need to put a witness mark on here so I make sure the holes line up later. Alright, here we go. Alright, so there it's all in. I need my sealant. You guys still with me? Alright. I am using Marine 5200 because it's what I have. Now everything I hear says this shit is permanent. Alright, that's horrendous, but shouldn't leak. Now, I don't want to make a huge fucking mess with this stuff. Well, I gotta get the glue out of the drain hole, and I put the drain hole in a bad spot. Damn. I forgot about that. Alright, so all I gotta do is dab a little bit of goo on these screw holes, on these screws, to keep them from leaking. And pray to God I never gotta take it off. Alright, we're almost done. All I got left to do is screw this discussion ring up there. I gotta cut a little more stuff out. Alright, the best tool for a job is the one you have on you. Oh yeah, that's a much better fit. Okay, the final step. Let's hope I don't hit nothing potent. Okay, I'm putting this one to bed. I got a hell of a mess to clean up. The van's tore apart, solar panels off, the roof carrier's got to be put back on, and of course you can see what it looks like in here. But I think I'm going to take a break for the rest of the day and clean all this shit up tomorrow. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.